So far, 2020 has been a terrible year with everything that's been going on. And it hasn't been much better with the PlayStation Plus games of this year either. We've been having a couple of good games, but other than that, they've been complete busts. This is Matt with Hanley Gaming, and these are the free games of May 2020. First, let's take a look at City Skylines. Now, this game first came out in March of 2015, and it was developed by Colossal Order and published by Paradox Interactive. This game is a city building simulator, much like SimCity, for instance. To start off, your only choice is to play in one of the areas provided, and by starting from scratch. There are no pre-made cities to experiment with, unlike in SimCity games that I've played. While you learn to play, there are tips given and some instructions on how to build, like how to lay roads down and how that you have to put up power lines and stuff. But the way you play it is ultimately up to you. The only reason I was able to build as quickly and easily as I could was because I used to play SimCity, and doing the power lines and the water and the zoning and the roads, it's all very similar to SimCity. A lot of the gameplay is very similar. I just find that SimCity is better in my opinion because I find there's more options and diversity with the gameplay when it comes to SimCity. This one comes very close, and there are some differences and some things that SimCity doesn't have, but ultimately I think for me SimCity is better. Also, with a game like this and SimCity, and I find the same thing with The Sims as well, for instance, that we had a little while ago. These are all games that are better on PC rather than console. Because you have the speed, the ease, and precision of a mouse. It's much easier to use a mouse in a game like this than a controller. So, like I mentioned before, you have to build roads, you have to build the power plants, you have to zone the areas so they know where to build the houses and commercial buildings and industrial buildings and offices and so on and so forth. The other thing you have to take in consideration is when you're building areas for homes, don't put it near industrial areas because the pollution will make the residents sick. And if you put too many commercial zoning areas, then a lot of businesses will close down and cause abandoned buildings that you'll have to tear down because they don't have enough workers to work there, and then they'll start shutting down. So when you're zoning, you got to pay attention to how many people am I going to have living here, how much zoning should I put for different industries, that sort of thing. And then there's light zoning for residential, There's heavy zoning for residential, so like apartment buildings versus houses. There's only one type of industry, unlike SimCity. There was industrial areas had light, medium, and heavy. Residential had light, medium, heavy. This one's just like light or heavy. And this one has offices, which SimCity didn't have. There's just like slight differences because it's not made by Maxis or EA. SimCity used to be a great franchise. They sort of fell off a little bit with their last game. They haven't come out with anything since that one that was always online, but that was only PC as far as I'm aware of. But yeah, like there are slight differences. Again, it's not a bad game, it's just very slow. And if you're not into this type of game, it might take you a while to catch on. And if you're not into this actual type of game and it takes that long to catch on, you might not be interested in playing it. You might lose interest with it. On top of all the building, you're also in charge of placing hospitals, police stations, and fire stations to protect your citizens. And when you place these down in residential areas, the residents are happy because they're like, oh, if there's crime, it'll be stopped. If there's a fire, it'll be stopped. It makes them happy. Police and fire and that is all dispatched on their own when things happen. And things will happen. Before I put a fire station in, one of the high-rise buildings in my city were on fire. I put the fire station down, they went right away and put out the fire. You also set the budgets for the city, so how much is spent for keeping up the roads, police services, hospitals, fire stations. You set the taxes, and you set the policies, so there's that as well. Now for the financial part, there is no tutorial that I came across, so you just get used to that yourself and just adjust it and learn as you go. Now, if you're not happy with the starting point and you want to start in a different area, there are many areas that you can start from, but most of them are behind paywalls, and the paywalls are DLC. And I checked how many add-ons there were, and there are a lot. There are 25 add-ons in the PlayStation Store, and I'm not sure if this is all of them, but there was one large package for $133. Now, that is a lot to spend in DLC, especially on, this is a free game, and it's normally about $55. But if you bought this at full price, you're going to be spending over $200 for the game and the DLC. And that's a lot of money for one game. So, yeah, so again, there's not much of a tutorial. This game is really learn as you go. It's not hard, but, it does take some getting used to. It's not for everyone. It is very slow at times and feels very tedious at times. And if you're not a fan of games like SimCity, you might not enjoy this game. If you do, you may. But, like I said, for me, it is not as good as SimCity. But again, this is on console, not PC. I have friends that play this on PC and actually enjoy it better than SimCity. But for this version of it, I'm not a fan of it. It's not going to be staying on my console. If you're looking for a highly interactive experience, you will not find it here. Next up, we have Farming Simulator 19. Oh god. Okay, so, again, this is another simulation game. This is, just like the title suggests, a farming simulation. We haven't had the greatest games this year. We've had the Nathan Drake games. We've had all 4 of them. We've had some good games, but mainly this year hasn't been the greatest for free games of the month, and this isn't much different. It came out in 2018, the end of 2018, and the developer is Giant Software, and the publisher is Focus Home Interactive. The developers are a Swiss developer, and they make other sim games, but the Farming Simulator is the biggest series. To be honest, right from the beginning, I did find this game quite boring. When you're not in a vehicle, you're walking, and it's in first person, and your character walks very slowly. So you start off in first person, you walk very slowly to the tractor you want to drive, and for some reason there's a jump and crouch button. I have no clue why that's needed, but they're there for whatever reason. Now you get into your tractor and you attach it to the needed equipment. And you use equipment like cultivators, subsoilers, fertilizers, weeders, plows. You get the picture. And there is a pretty lengthy, fleshed out tutorial, and it teaches you the basics about the game, and there are a lot of basics. They show you how to prep the field, how to harvest, and everything in between. Which is good, because I have no idea how to do any of it or what any of the equipment is, so I actually needed this, and I appreciated that it was there. Now, when you finish the tutorials and you get into the actual game, it still gives you hints on what to do, whether it be actual text on the screen or symbols on your head map, but how you play is ultimately up to you. It is open-ended, and you don't have to do anything in any particular order. Now, the object of this game is to make as much money as you can out of your farm. And you've got to buy and maintain equipment, and you ultimately want to buy more land and expand your farm. But if you do run into financial difficulties and expand too quickly, you can sell the land back. Now, with all that needs to be done, and it being true to its simulator name, you basically have to do everything. And it is time consuming and there is a lot to do. So if you want, there is the option to hire people on. So like say you start driving and you're, plowing through and trying to prep your one crop to plant it, you can hire somebody and then jump to another one that's already ready to harvest or something like that, right? Because you can plant different things in the ground in different areas. So you might have different things going on at the same time, like different parts of the season going on at the same time for different things that you planted. So you can hire people to do the work for you, or you can do it yourself if you want. It will take longer, but it gives you more to do. You might want to hire some people to do some of it because harvesting the stuff. The stages are time sensitive, I think, because you got to get things done. If there's weeds, you need to get them out, or it will ruin your crops. So you might want to hire some people to help out, even in the beginning, but especially later on in the game when you have a lot going on. Now, one thing I found really weird was you start in the United States. You got American flags waving around in the farm, but for some reason the in-game currency is euros. And, it's a Swiss developer and a French publisher, so it might have been an oversight, but I couldn't find any way to change it. And that might annoy some players outside of Europe. If an American buys this game, they're like, why is everything in euros? That's really weird. And they have the American flags there, so, it might have been an oversight on their part. But there should be an option to have euros and dollars, I think. Not every country uses euros. They use the British pound in Great Britain, or the United Kingdom, sorry. They use dollars in the US and Canada. It's just weird to see the game in euros when it's not even taking place in Europe. That's just weird. Now, all in all, I feel really let down this month. Both games are simulation games. One's a city builder sim, the other is a farming sim. Both are slow, have no story, and they feel more like a chore than an actual gaming experience. Now, the people that have it the worst this month are people that have PlayStation Now. PlayStation Now, for those who don't know, it's very similar to Xbox Game Pass, if you know what that is. You pay $13 a month, and it's a service that allows you to play over 800 titles on the PlayStation 4. There are PlayStation 4 titles, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation 2 as well. PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 2, I believe they're all streaming, and PlayStation 4 is downloads, if I'm not mistaken. I know there's over 300 PS4 titles, and the rest are between the older two consoles. And they update it every month. Some of them are ongoing services. You can just download them at any time and play them. Others are timed exclusives, like for instance right now, as of making this video, they've got, Spider-Man is a limited time thing until August. There's a couple other ones, but some of them are there every month, and I believe these two are both there every month. I know they are both there now, because when I went to go download them, it said available on PlayStation Now. So those people really got nothing this month. I feel let down because I got two very slow, storyless games, and they just got absolutely nothing, because they could have downloaded these games at any time, and they're getting the same thing with their subscription to PlayStation Plus. So they are kind of screwed this month, but what can you do, right? Well guys, that's all for this month's free game of the month video. If you like that video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It helps out a lot. And I'm almost at 100 subscribers, so I'd love to get there. And leave a comment in the comments below. Did you play any of these games before? Are you interested in downloading them? Have you downloaded them? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Later, guys.